Afternoon, everybody. Clint Endersby from the Southern Livestock Exchange with the market report for the 8th of October. A few less cattle than last week. We had 551 sold today. Mainly a lot of cows and a lot of bulls today in the heavy cattle. Not as many young cattle. The cows today had a bit of weight and had a bit of freshness about them. Coming off of now we're well into the springtime. The cows have definitely starting to get a bit of a bloom about them and a good run of those heavy bulls. As I said, heavy bulls today, they were fully firm. Most of the market was very similar last week, but bulls firm on last week. The best of the bulls. We had one very nice black limo bull. Been on. It was only a young bull off the grain. He made $4.50, but the majority of the bulls were 420 to 430 if they had a bit of weight. If you slip back a bit, once they were a bit plainer in condition, and they went anywhere from $3.50 to $3.80 for those plainer bulls. Into the cows, top end of the cows, firm again on last week. Very similar story. If you had cows with weight and they're 600 plus, you're somewhere between 420 to 430. A lot of cows in the 410 to 430 bracket for the best of them. The next run under that, your 550 to 600s. Still, your good meaty cows are making anywhere from $3.80, 85 all the way through to that $4.10 as well. And then once we drop back under that 550 kilos and the cows get a little bit shelly, or cows that have been working and feeding calves, they're somewhere around that 350 through to $3.80. And then once those lighter plainer cows and some of those dairy types, they just slip back a little bit further than that. But not many cows under $3 today, and they were 3 to 340 or 50 for those real plainer, lighter condition cows. Trade cattle, they're a bit harder to find today. Few heifery types, probably a few cows mixed in amongst that. They were making anywhere from that $4.40 to $4.60 in that trade bracket. Only a handful of good trade steers, which were anywhere in that sort of that $4.40 for your more crossbreedy dairy type, more manufacturing type steers, right through to $4.95 for your top end trades, but they were few and far between today. The feeder steer, again, probably didn't quite have the weight that we've had the previous weeks. Still a couple of nice lines in that 400 to 500 kilo bracket, topped out at $5, but not as many as we have been having. More of your trade veery type steer into the butcher trade in that 350 to 420 or 30 bracket. They sold strong and similar last week as well. Anywhere from that $4.60 through to $5 as well. A few of them pushing into the 540s and 50s if they're more in that 300 to 330 bracket and heading back out into the paddock as a backgrounder. The heifers, similar sort of story. If they're good and they're killable and they meet that butcher trade, you're anywhere from sort of $4.20 through to $4.80 or 90, and I think the best of the heifers made out to $5.30 for one sale there, but most of them in that 460 to 480 bracket if they've got a bit of type and a bit of finish about them. As soon as we step back into a few store types and a bit lighter, you're back in around that $4 to $4.50 for your well-bred heifers. And if you've got some heifers there that are just under 300 and probably just don't quite have the breeding in them, some of those heifers are back from $3.50 to $4. Your little steers to return to the paddock, they as long as they got the type about them and the same story as last week, any nice little pens of Angus steers, $5.40 through to $5.50. Few sales in that 520 to 550 bracket. If you come off of the Angus steers and you're back into a crossbred or a coloured steer, you're somewhere around that $4.50 through to $5. And then your ones and twos again, a little bit sticky to sell there. The ones and twos, they're just a little bit harder to move at the moment. Into the real little cattle, didn't have as many little calves as what we've had in the previous couple of weeks. A few of those little calves, and they're probably a little bit off types, and we had a bit of a run of those off type cattle today. So the averages might be back towards the bottom end, but there's a little bit to do with a few crossbred cattle, a few dairy cross cattle, and a few just not quite the same breeding as the top end. But overall, few less young cattle, heavy cattle starting to show that real nice shine and finish about them coming in, getting into the springtime now. But market fully firm, bit the same as the last couple of weeks. So Anyway, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.